Hey, Sammie. Thanks for being here on the Lift Oneself podcast and being willing to share your story with others.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
I want to ask you, how is your heart?
Somewhat whole. Somewhat whole. With Mother's Day approaching, I still have a little void, but I'm much more whole now than I've been in my previous years.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being honest. Today we're going to talk about a very vulnerable topic for you, the loss of your mother and how you've had to navigate in that in your journey. Would you mind sharing?
So when my mom died, it was just after my 15th birthday. She died June 14th. My birthday was May 27th.
Ooh, okay.
So my mom, she had a bunch of health issues. And so it led from one thing to the other. And eventually, she was too weak to be able to have the necessary surgeries. And eventually she just passed. I went to see her one evening, as I always did, after school, every day, on the weekends. And a couple hours later, the rest of my family came back home, said she was gone. And that's how that happened. That was a shocker for me because I wasn't expecting it, despite all that was being said. It's like, no, my mom's coming home. You can't tell me that this is it for her. But it got to a point where she was in the hospital for so long that she wasn't able to speak anymore. So it had been a while since I heard my mom say anything, speak at all. All she could do was cry. You could just see tears fall down her face, but she couldn't speak. Of course, as a teenager, that's difficult. It's very confusing. And so I had a bit of a hard time with that. It took some time for me to realize what was really going on. I think it wasn't until the actual wake, then that's when reality really set in, when I saw it right in front of me.
Okay.
My mom, being from a Caribbean background, Jamaican background to be exact, was so strict. She was so strict. I thought she made my life difficult, not knowing that later on in life that I would see all that she was trying to do was to my own benefit. I only learned that after having my own children and beginning to realize what that's like. My mom was, to me, was always she was my rock. She was a single mom. She did a lot on her own. She raised me for the most part without any assistance from my father. Not that he wasn't around in the beginning, but after a while, she had to make the choice where it was either she stays in a situation that wouldn't be good for me and her, obviously, or she pulls herself out of it and start over from scratch. And she chose to start over from scratch. And that's not easy for a lot of women to do, for anybody to do, to start over from scratch. You're in a foreign country, no family around, by yourself with a child, and with the way things are, it's just like, okay, who am I going to leave my kid with when I have to go to work and stuff like that? So my mom had to deal with a lot. She took on a lot of stresses. But despite all that, she took it like a champ. She made it seem all so easy. Yeah. She was full with a lot of strength. And I think a lot of my strength and my determination definitely came from her and seeing how she had to manage with things, She never outright let me know what was going on, but I was always that child. I think I had an old soul, if you want to say that, I
Yeah.
always knew. I was very observant. No, there was nothing that could not pass me. They have a thing where they say you have dog ears. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's me. I hear everything. I see everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I was always aware of what was going on around me. And I think that worked out to my own benefit now in my life. And I try to pass that on to my children as much as I can. But it's also something that you have to learn on your own.
Yeah. And, our teen years are a part of, like, it's a formative year of to learn autonomy and starting to learn some independence. Having this experience at the age of 15 and having significant pain, can you talk about that pain and what you had to navigate through?
Um, wow, I never thought I'd actually struggle to answer this question.
Take your time. Take your time.
um, it's weird because it's almost as if I've kind of accepted what has happened now. So
Okay.
going back to what that feeling was, it feels a little bit foreign to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I, it it wasn't like that before. I can tell you that. Like I
So
still
talk
have
about
my
it the way it
moments.
was before.
Um,
I know it can be challenging to do that because it might feel uncomfortable. Yet for others that may be in the moment right now, it's a little bit more relatable. I know sometimes we want to package up our pain and not discuss the messiness of it. Yet it helps to have the acceptance of ourselves and see really what we had to navigate through and really honor ourselves in, wow, like that's really what you went through.
Lost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the first word, first feeling that would that came, that still comes because that
Mm-hmm.
feeling never goes away. You
Yeah.
can bury it, cover it up as much as you can, but there are certain points in your life where that feeling will come back.
Mm-hmm.
But loss is definitely the first feeling I felt because all I ever knew was my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's gone. What now?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to take over for what she was doing or what she's supposed to do? No one will ever be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my mom always saying, there will never be anyone and no one will ever be able to take care of you and protect you the way I do as your mother. And I never forgot that. And to this day, I find myself saying this to my children now. And I don't even know if that would cause more harm than good, but I understand it now. I didn't understand it then,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely understand it now. You know, it was always, I'm one of two of my mom's children. I was the oldest. So I was 15 and my sister was 9.
Okay.
You know, we do have different fathers, but still, our mom is all we knew, you know. So I remember going in complete shock. Like, of course, I cried. I was bawling my eyes out, but I didn't really understand what was going on. There was just so much chaos in my mind. And the first thing I thought to myself was go run and grab her because I didn't want anyone else to tell her except me. It's almost like I became the mom. And I've always been like that overprotective type of my little sister. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I have to be mom now. That's how I
Yeah.
felt,
Yeah. And
you
it's
know.
understandable.
Yeah. And I remember very vividly just running from the kitchen because I said, oh, I have to. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment and we had the laundry set up in the kitchen. My mom never used that laundry. Very rarely. We always went to the laundromat, but on occasion she would use a laundry machine just because she was worried about her bill.
Yeah.
I remember saying, okay, I need to hurry up. I got to get this house clean. I got to finish all these clothes because I want when my mom comes home from the hospital, I want everything nice and clean. I want her to be happy. That's the least I could do because I was always giving her a hard time. Not that I physically did anything bad as a kid, but I was mouthy. I was always that mouthy child. So I remember running from the kitchen. I ran to the bedroom before anyone else could get to my sister. And I grabbed her and I slammed the door, and everyone is banging down the door. Open the door, Vanessa. I said, go away, leave us alone. Go away, leave us alone. It's all I remember yelling, go away, leave us alone. And I told her, and she looked at me so confused. She didn't understand, but she started crying. And just, what do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean? Try explaining that to a 9-year-old at 15. Now I look at my son, he's 9, and I can't even imagine someone saying that to him. Like, even the thought of me getting old, he breaks down because he associates being old with death, and that scares him. So it's definitely it was scary. It was scary because I didn't know where we would go, what we would be doing. I didn't even know how to live outside of my mom.
Yeah.
So outside of that, I couldn't see a future. I was stuck there. And of course, my dad wasn't around. So, and at the time, actually, he was incarcerated.
Okay.
Not only was he incarcerated, he was sick with cancer. So I had to deal with that as well. That was a lot, you know. Now my mom's gone. My dad's still here. I'm glad he's still here, but he's not really here. He's supposed to be coming home. But then when he comes home, what's going to happen? Am I going to be separated from my baby sister? I didn't want that. I love my dad, but I didn't want to be separated from my sister. Wherever I went, she had to come. Wherever she went, I go. That, you know, so I had to deal with that too and figure that out. And okay, what's going to happen with school? And, you know, now I'm going to be separated from my closest friends. And I didn't have a lot of close friends. I kept it very small because I saw what happens when you have a lot of friends. It comes a lot of problems. And I just never wanted that for myself, you know? So yeah, it was difficult. We located here in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was another thing because although we've always visited during the summers, living was just out of the question for me.
Yeah.
It was out of the question for me. So not only did my mom just die, my dad is on the brink of dying. He's incarcerated. I don't know when or if I'm going to be able to see him. And now you want to relocate me to another country. That was a lot. I did not really get to grieve. And then shortly after that, my dad passed.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah. So my mom died June 14th, 2004. My dad died January 5th, 2005. I did not have time to fully deal with what I need to deal with.
And you're still a child.
Yes. And I have never been the open type to wear my heart on my sleeves. Everything gets bottled and I keep it moving. When I'm by myself, I'll shed a tear here and there, and then I got to get up, keep it moving, because if I think about it too much, I get into such a dark place and then I feel lost. And I can't do that because I have my little sister that I have to take care of. You know, I just went into protective mode.
Yeah. Survival mode.
Yeah.
And really having to shut yourself off from emotions.
Yeah.
Because you have to be in a responsibility now that you don't even understand and be responsible for another human being.
It's crazy because she never actually got the chance to grieve either. It has been very, very rare that I've seen my sister cry. And when I see her cry, it's so foreign to me, and it automatically puts me in defense. So I was like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Who did this to you? Because I'm not used to seeing that.
You're not able to witness pain.
No.
Can you witness pain in your own children?
Oh, yeah.
When did you finally allow yourself to feel the pain, or have you ever allowed yourself to feel the pain?
Mm. I want to say that I have, but to actually hearing that question out loud, I don't know if I actually ever allowed myself to. I
Mm-hmm.
I I don't think I ever did. Not
Mm-hmm.
to say that I didn't feel anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I really sat in it and
Mm-hmm.
allowed it, because I don't know if I would know how to pull myself out of it. It's still a process.
It is.
Years later,
It
it's
is.
it's still a process. Um, but I think I found my greatest strength after having my children.
I remember at your baby shower for your
Yeah.
first child, which is your son. And I remember, you had to take some alone time because it was overwhelming. And we spoke about your mom in that moment. And I invited her memory to be in there. And how was that when you were, pregnant with child and having to really, because I don't know, I'm just presuming that the wound would open up even more in a depth of now coming into a role of mother and really feeling that mother love and it really having an impact.
Terrifying.
Mm.
It was terrifying, because as much as I was a know-it-all, I figured things out on my own. I didn't need anybody to tell me, if I need your help, I'll ask, but I don't need it. It was very scary, because it's like, holy cow, I'm about to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck? What am I supposed to do? I
Yeah.
don't know any better. I mean, I babysat kids, and everyone knows I love me some babies. And I said I love babies.
Mm-hmm.
I manage babies. Babies don't talk back. They don't give you the attitude. They just sleep and depend on you. That's it. I love babies. I've always been the go-to when everyone else needed help with their babies and stuff like that. And I played a huge role in helping others with theirs. But now I was having my own. And that was something entirely new,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't something that at the time that I was proud of. And so for a long time, I actually hid the pregnancy. So I had to go through that alone on top of that, and not knowing like what steps to take, and you know can I even go to this person? They didn't have anybody to really go to, so I had to deal with that on my own for a while. Now the shower, it was definitely overwhelming. Like, I appreciated everything and everyone around me. It was that I definitely was not expecting as much as I got. I wasn't even expecting the least bit. It was definitely a lot, and I think I was like so grateful for all that was happening. But at the same time, all I could think was, wow, like, I have a huge amount of support around me, all this love, all this support, but yet that one thing that is still not there.
Yeah.
That one person that I really would want and need to be there is not there.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, she presented me a memory book, That's what it was. She gave me a memory book, and I opened up the memory book and I started reading all the little things that you're supposed to fill out and the little hairs that you're supposed to save, all the little things, just to keep as a memory. And I looked at her and just looking at her and just like, this is like my little sister gifting me with something like this. And this is something I would want from my mom.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and my heart just melted, and she looked at me and she just knew. She just knew. It was like she was there, but in my sister.
Yeah.
And my sister has a resemblance of my mom. So
Yeah.
like we both do, but my sister more so with certain features in her face. And so it gave me comfort. It gave me some comfort, but at the same time, like I was really in need of her at that time.
Yeah, that's the thing about love, that there's pain in it. Really understand the overwhelming of allowing yourself to receive all the love and the support that you were getting at that shower, and still holding the void and that lost of the one person that I really need and who I really want is not here and not here to guide me, and having to hold the two. Because a lot of times people think it's one or the other, and it's like, no, I'm navigating in both, trying to keep my sanity with the overwhelmment of the feelings. And I'm sure it opened up your vulnerability that you guard so much. I think when you become pregnant, I share the same sentiments with you. The overwhelmment of all of a sudden there's a human being created in you, and it's like, I barely know how to figure things out for myself. What am I going to do with this little human? And it can be very overwhelming with that realization of the immense responsibility of that. And also the fragility of, will I know what to do and take care of this person? With your wound, losing your mother at 15, there's a lot of things that you still wanted to interpret. And whenever we are pregnant with the first time, our mothers are who we go to ask for information and lean on and open up to, that we can just say the things that seem so silly, yet we know our mothers won't push that away, where it can be very challenging to do with other people. I appreciate you sharing, getting into the depths of this. How has your relationship with your sister been?
Oh, my relationship is with my sister. Like that's my girl. That's my best friend. My sister's that one person that I can call for anything, whenever, whatever it is. Sometimes I can just call her and sit on the phone and cry, and I don't have to say anything.
Okay, so you
And
do
she'll
allow
just start
yourself to
crying.
cry.
Occasionally, yes.
Okay.
It is okay. Sometimes it's a great relief. Sometimes you'll cry and you won't even know why you're crying. You just know that you need to let it out.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from buildup. Something I'm very good at doing because you tend to bottle and suppress your feelings.
Yeah.
And put everyone else's needs and wants ahead of yours. It's like, I don't have time to feel. I don't have time to worry about myself right now because someone else needs me. I need to make sure this is done. It's go, 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 go. You don't shut yourself down. You don't allow yourself that space to breathe, or let alone think. In the long run, it's not a healthy thing to do. Definitely not. And understanding that, I think, comes with time. And it does take work to get to a place to even take baby steps, to allow yourself the time to deal with just a piece of the puzzle at a time, just one small piece.
Yeah, because you did mention, when I asked you about the pain, you're like, I really don't think I've sat in it. And so when you haven't sat in the depths of the pain, it's always like a trauma response of running away from that, because I don't feel that I can survive that. And it's funny how the brain will use a survival mode of trying to run away from the thing that would heal you because it feels too overwhelming. The pain feels like you'll die, and it actually physiologically will feel like that. Have you ever sought out any therapy or counseling?
No,
Okay.
no, not for that. I mean, as a child, I had my issues with other things, and I've actually done counseling for that. But with my parents' passings, no, I've never fully actually sat down with anyone and dealt with that.
Have you ever thought about it?
No,
Has
I
anybody ever
actually never
suggested?
had. It yes, yes, it was suggested. Um, but I never went through with it.
Okay.
It was all still fresh at the time, and all I can think and all I kept saying to myself, you know what? Instead of me, I don't have time for this. I just need to keep going
Mm-hmm.
and do what I have to do to make something of myself, because I don't want to feel like I let either one of them down. Especially my mom. I mean, as much as I love my mom and she was everything, we didn't always have the closest relationship. Not when I got older in my teens, and
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be normal.
It is. It is. It is.
um, so I've learned. But during that time when I'm going through that, it just felt like, it really felt like all I wanted was my mom, to emulate my mom. I just want to be like how she is. And, you know, why is it that everything I do seems to be disappointing to her?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until now that I understand that it didn't have anything to do with me.
No.
It had nothing to do with me and everything to do with her just trying to hold the pieces together,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a part of me felt this sort of guilt. I still kind of feel it a little bit, that, you know, what if, everything happens for a reason. I stop and I think, if she had been alive and she was around when I was pregnant with my first, my second, or even my third, would it have been something she would have actually supported me through? Or would she have actually been disappointed? And a big part of me feels like maybe she would eventually come around, but it wouldn't be something she would have been proud of. And that I still struggle with. That's a feeling I still struggle with.
Why do you think she wouldn't be proud?
A typical parent, we're not in a perfect world, but to them, it's just like, okay, you're supposed to go through school, finish school, get your education, get your career. Then you worry about finding the right partner. You get married, then the kids, then the house. And I didn't have all that. And nothing came in order for me. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
happened the way I wanted it. Nothing happened the way it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the order that society wants you to think it's supposed to be. To me, based on my upbringing, it's almost like, okay, I now repeated I walked exactly in my mom's footsteps. I almost feel like she would look at me and say, you made all the same mistakes I made. And I worked very hard and did everything for you not to do that. And you did it anyway.
Let me ask you this. Would you say that you're a mistake?
I know I'm not a mistake. I'm
Okay.
here for a reason.
Yeah. So that sentiment of you making all the same mistakes, it's negated. You're not a mistake. Your mother didn't make mistakes. She
Mm.
navigated through life. Mother's Day is coming up. Is this something that is challenging for you?
In the beginning, It was. I remember my first Mother's Day. I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. And I remember I lived in an apartment by myself, and I remember sitting on the couch and I realized that it was Mother's Day, and I sat there and I just had this empty feeling, and I just started like bawling, like I was gasping for air,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then that's when I actually felt the first kick. And I was so shocked because I'm like, oh, what just happened?
Yeah.
What just happened? And I stopped and I looked at my stomach and they started rubbing my stomach, and then I felt it again. Then I started crying all over again, but it was different this time because it was almost like, I don't know, it's weird, but it's almost like baby saying, Mommy, I'm here. You're
Yeah.
a mommy now. You don't
Yeah.
have to cry anymore. And that was just the sweetest feeling I've ever felt. I've never actually shared that with anybody, but it was the sweetest feeling I ever felt. I went from crying, bawling my eyes out, and feeling so empty and feeling in so like I'm in so much pain to just happy tears. It immediately shifted to happy tears. And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like, okay, it's like she's looking at me and saying, it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
here. You're not alone. Each time, each Mother's Day after that, like I've always silenced my phone because then it took the joy out of Mother's Day for me.
Mm-hmm.
Me being able to appreciate it is what I should say, as
Mm-hmm.
me being a mom. My kid brings me a gift. Happy Mother's Day. Like, if all I'm sitting there is doing is grieving my mom, then I'm not appreciating what my child is bringing to me. And so I have to remind myself, okay, you're a mom now. It's time for you to give your child what you feel you didn't get from your mom. With each child, I found that I don't want to say it got easier, but I'm able to get through it without the tears now.
Mm-hmm.
As time goes on, I'm able to get through it without the tears. I'm actually able to smile and look at somebody else and say, Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was never able to do that,
Have
you
you
know?
ever let the thought in that you can grieve and appreciate at the same time?
I'm learning that.
You can have the two.
I'm learning that as time goes on, I'm actually learning that and understanding that that's okay. Beginning to understand that that's okay.
Yeah.
Even something like, because it was my mom's sister actually became responsible for us when she died.
Mm-hmm.
And people would say, I'm like, oh, if someone would call the house or leave a voicemail and say, oh, I'm calling, can I speak with your mom or what? My immediate response was, she's not my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's not my mother. Don't call her that. She's my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how angry I was, how much that really, those little things like that, just hearing stuff like that would trigger, it would really upset me and bring me back to that place where all I can remember is kneeling down at her graveside. And you're going to look at me and say to me that my aunt is my mom now? No, no one ever can replace my mom. No one will ever replace my mom. Don't you dare look at another person and call them my mom. And that took a very long time for me to get through. I don't think I realized how that may have made my aunt feel. She was just trying to do her best. She was not trying to replace my mom. She was grieving too. She had a loss too. But as a child, you can't tell me that. You couldn't tell me that. So now, when, just to make things easier, because I've never been the type to really just put my business out there all at once. And allow, I don't say things to allow people to ask too many questions.
Mm-hmm.
So to make things easier, I would say, oh, well, I'm calling on behalf of my mom, or I'm her daughter, this so and so's daughter. The first time I had heard that, she didn't have to say it, but the look in her face, I don't know how to explain it, but I almost feel like she felt a little appreciated,
Mhm.
because she may have felt like I didn't appreciate her before, but it had nothing to do with that. But that's just the fact that I was trying to deal with the loss and I didn't know how.
Well, you
And I
also didn't grieve.
exactly
So when you don't grieve, do you understand what's underneath anger?
grief for sure.
Yeah, and sadness. It's deep
Yeah,
sadness and fear.
yeah,
And when you didn't grieve, of course, you would get your back up with anything of defensive of your mom.
yeah. Was I ever defensive?
Mm-hmm. Because you didn't want to feel neither.
Yeah,
How do you support your mental health?
music is my best friend.
Mm.
Definitely music. Um, I used to write poetry.
Yeah.
I used to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Always loved to dance. I've always been a music baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that after my parents died, I wasn't able to sing anymore.
Okay.
Totally off key. You could
Mm-hmm.
not get me to even hum. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. I recently started writing again.
Nice.
And it's funny because I used to push all my friends to do journals.
Mm-hmm.
I used to push them to do journals a lot. And it's strange because I was pushing them to do it, but yet I couldn't do it myself. And it's a huge relief when you do.
Yeah.
And then when you look back at it and you see it on paper, you'd be surprised at how much you're actually holding on to. It's a huge eye opener. Structure structure is something that I cannot live without.
Mm-hmm.
It is so important to me, and I've only recently learned that in the last year,
Mm-hmm.
how important structure is for me.
Because it gives
And
you a
I
sense of safety and
exactly,
security, which you need because it was taken away from you in your teen years. So that
exactly.
helps you with that signaling when things feel so very uncertain. When you have that structure, it's like, okay, I have some sense of control
Yeah,
when I feel out of control. What I find interesting, I don't know if you ever reflected on that, you saying that after your parents, uh, their death, you not being able to sing, have you ever recognized that you need emotions to be able to sing? And what you described through your journey is that you had to cut yourself off the emotions. So that's why
yeah,
your voice isn't here.
yeah. Still trying to find that voice.
And that means to connect into the emotions.
That's correct.
And that's the work that you're still doing.
Still doing the work.
Yeah.
Still an open wound.
Mm-hmm.
Healing, but
Mm-hmm.
still open.
What can you thank COVID for?
Oh my God. I can thank COVID for all the time I've gotten to spend with my children. I've had to learn to say no to things, put something down, put it on the back burner, drop everything. My kids name it, Mommy, I need help with this. I'm coming. What do you need? I am here. Because I couldn't say that to my mom. A lot of times I could not say that to my mom because she had to be at work. I spend a lot of time with my babysitter, and even with that, it's so strange that in this moment I'm recognizing that I started parenting myself from a very young age. And I don't want my children to experience that. I want to know that no matter what, when they grow up, they are able to recognize and appreciate that I not only did everything that I could to make sure that they were okay, but I spent the time with them because that's all they want. It is far more important to a child to have that time, that quality time with their parents, than it is to have material things or to be able to go out and play or be like their other friends. All they want is your time and your attention. That's it.
What I know to be true is when we don't process pain, that thing can be really malignant within us. And
Oh,
when we
yeah.
don't grieve properly, it can be very like a dark ether. And so in there, I understand where you're saying I always get this signal of guilt and I'm just not measuring up for my mom and I'm disappointing and stuff, and understanding, looking at her narrative and not wanting to repeat the cycle or anything like that. Yet it's not looking at it from that lens. It's appreciating, okay, I'm learning and what's here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 3 healthy, beautiful children. You're
Thank
healthy.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
They're here and you're here. You mentioned about society and, a lot of people follow that linear path where if I do all this, I'll get that kind of shining gold star and everything will be, so perfect in life. Yet the majority of people that follow that, when they get to the end or some kind of arrival point, they break open the in case of emergency and there's nothing there because they didn't follow the lead of what they needed to do with their life. They were following a script that other people presented to them. And so when we make the choices for our own life, we can stand with, I made this choice. And they're uncomfortable because it goes against the narration of what society has portrayed as a perfect life or a stable life or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you have the choices in the life that, okay, this is me. I'm taking responsibility. Of course, any parent doesn't want their children to endure the hardship of life. A lot of the strict parts that you say about your mother, recognizing her disappointments with you or how you guys used to argue, you're recognizing it was her own fear and her own inner critic that she was berating herself. And then it
And that
gets,
fear is a powerful thing.
yeah.
It is a powerful thing because it's so scary because I see it in myself
Mm-hmm.
and it scares me. I remember always saying, when I grow up, I am not going to be like my mother. I
Mm-hmm.
am not going to be like the way she was with my kids. Nope, not happening. I said, nope, not happening. I had kids.
Yeah.
I had kids. And I hear my mother and myself every day, and I'm like, what am I doing? What have I done? Oh my God. I'm like, is this my karma? I'm like, this is very funny to me.
Yeah.
They always say, wait till you have children. Well, I had my children. I'm learning.
Yeah. For me, parenting is the highest spiritual practice you'll have to learn about yourself.
I'm learning a lot about myself through my children.
Yeah. They reflect parts of your personality, things that you don't want to see, the fears that you have.
Yeah,
And it's like you're not able to escape. And some
yeah,
people escape by projecting a lot of fear so they don't have to look at the reflection.
yeah.
Yet if
And
you're
that,
willing to look, it's like, whoa, you grow in that and you mature.
yes. And I think I'm now working through that because, as you say, you can deflect it onto your children, and that's not my intention. That's not my goal. So that I'm glad that I'm able to see and recognize it.
Yeah, you're self-aware. So it's really, that is huge in the steps.
Definitely. So I always have to stop, and when I find myself in certain situations where I get frustrated and I really just need to walk away, I find myself asking the question, what is triggering this feeling right now? Because it is not your child. What is it in you that you're not dealing with? Or what is it about the situation that is triggering you to react the way that you're about to react right now? And is it worth it? What is the end result that you want to out of the situation.
Yeah.
What is it that you want your child to feel? And so a lot of times I find myself, if I'm not counting down to 10, I just turn and I walk away and I say, I just need a minute. I take the time to breathe and then I go back and then I deal with the situation the best I can. And I always find myself questioning them at the end of the day. Is there something that I could have done better? How did I make you feel? I've had my moments where it actually broke me to hear and say, Mommy, I don't want another mother. Because there are times where I feel like I'm the worst parent in the world. And they're like, nope, I don't ever want another mother. It is you. You're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
And for my own children to look at me and say something like that, it speaks volumes to me.
It does.
Because I am my biggest critic.
Is there anything that you would like to share with anybody that this Mother's Day may be the first year that they're going to be navigating without their mother? Is there any words of encouragement, tips, or support that you would want to give out since you've been navigating this for a while now?
Talk about it. You can talk about it, write about it. It doesn't get easier. The pain never goes away. You learn to manage your pain. It's a process to go through. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. Everyone has their time. There's no, okay, you'll get over this in a year or two. No. It takes time, and you have to allow yourself to grieve. Grieving is important. It can destroy you if you don't. It does affect you in more ways than one, just like stress. They say stress can kill you, so can grief. So if you have a friend, family member, anybody who you feel that you can be vulnerable with, find your safe space and talk about it. And over time, learning how to understand your grief becomes easier.
I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate you sharing your story, allowing us to enter into those intimate, vulnerable places with you, and holding the space for others to be encouraged that they're not alone. Because Mother's Day, it seems to be, like you said, you turn your phone off on silence because everybody's in a happy, joyful space. Yet some people are still processing the deep pains of their mother not being here. So my intention was to amplify those stories in a space where everybody else is really loud. I wanted them to feel that they're not alone. Their pain and the sadness can be acknowledged. And like I said, you can hold the two. You can hold the joy of life and the appreciation and hold the grieving, hold the sadness, and let them both, be together. So I appreciate you being here on the podcast and having this beautiful conversation with me.
Thank you for having me, Nat. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Please subscribe to our podcast, and where possible, leave a review. Check out our sponsors in the show notes. And until next time, please be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.